Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another haircut tutorial. Today's video I'm going to show you guys a mid-drop fade. I know it's been a minute since I put out my last haircut tutorial, but let's get into it. So we're going to go ahead and start off this cut real simple with the number 2 guard closed all along the sides. We're going to take that 2 guard all the way up to the parietal ridge and just keep riding that guard all the way up to the ceiling. Now if you guys are new to my channel, if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Also hit that like button while you're at it. I'm really trying to get the YouTube algorithm down pat, so if you guys can help me out too by watching as much of the video as you can, it really helps to put my video out there to others. So getting right into this first guideline, I've got my Babyliss Red FX clippers with the lever completely closed. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over so we can set in a clean initial guideline. I'm also going to lightly drag down with the clipper to clear as much bulk as I can beneath that, so it just makes it easier to flick into it with the trimmer. So we're going to continue to clear that bulk, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch worth of bulk. And as we go to the other side here, you can really see how I'm setting in that initial guideline. This is going to set the shape of the haircut for us. Towards the front of his head, I've really got it angled towards the floor. And then as we work our way around the ear, we're going to arch that around. And as we get to the back of the head, we're going to drop that in the back. And I did want to mention to you guys, I really appreciate you guys. We're coming up on 1,600 subscribers. It may not seem like a lot, but that's huge for me. Even as a small YouTube channel, I couldn't have anticipated this amount of growth this quickly. So yeah, y'all definitely continue smashing that like button, leaving me comments down below. It really helps out. So we're going to follow up that initial guideline right underneath with our Babyliss Gold FX trimmer. And what this is going to do is create a transition at that skin to stubble level. Now this is just my preferred method, but I like to kind of flick out as I approach that initial guideline. Everybody's kind of got a different way of doing it, but this is just what works best for me. So now that we've flicked out with our trimmer, we can go right up underneath that with the Babyliss Gold FX shaver. Again, now we just want to start flicking out about 1/2 inch below where you left off with the trimmer. So you should be flicking out about 1 inch below that initial guideline. We're going to set our next guideline with no guard on, with the lever completely open. Again, just going back and forth, right to left, left to right, making sure everything's nice and even. You want to get everything to the same shade so we can set a nice foundation when we begin this blending process. Now on a typical fade, I usually use my finger as a reference. I'll go about the width of my finger as the guideline, and that really just depends on the texture and the density and really the coarseness of the hair. So again, we're going to go up the same distance here with our 1 guard on now. We've got the lever completely open. We're setting all these guidelines in with the lever completely open. So going left to right, right to left, making sure everything's that same exact shade. The reasons for setting up guidelines like this and creating these even sections, it's not just to look good to the eye. You're really setting up levels here. And like I said, the better you can set up your initial foundation, it just makes it that much easier to create a smooth transition from skin all the way to the long hairs up top. So now we're going to get into the blending process in that first section, and you can see I zoomed in there. I'm going to start with the second notch on the lever, and we're just going to take that up about 1/3 of the way into that section. And this is the part where I really need you guys to stick with me. This is where I'm losing a lot of people with audience retention. I'm trying to slow this part down to make it easier for beginners especially, so you can sit there and watch it at real speed. I know something I always struggled with finding on YouTube when I was learning how to cut hair was videos that would show cutting at normal speed. Most guys just kind of fly through it, which sometimes you have to for the YouTube algorithm. You got to get your video within a certain time frame. But this is where I really need you guys to stick with me. So we're going to keep working up in this initial section. Now we've got the lever about halfway, and we're just using a lot of corner work. I've learned that this initial section is really the best section to use a lot of corners because it's so easy to create a new line in this section. So again, we're just using the first few teeth of the blade. A lot of times I'm kind of angling the clipper to make sure I'm not taking the full width of the blade up in there. So y'all can start to see with pretty minimal effort, we've just about blended out this initial section. I'm going to go back and forth and continue to hit these dark spots, especially with the corners of the blade. You'll see right around that C-cup area, I like to leave it a little darker to start out with, and I'm doing that intentionally because I want to create a nice sharp lineup around that edge. So the darker you can leave it, the better natural line you can get without having to go back with a ton of enhancements. So you see I saved that towards the end. Now I can go back and kind of blend it out a little bit better. But again, I want to try to keep it as dark as I can without leaving a line there. So now that we've got that first panel blended out, we can go ahead and go back to our one guard. And we're going to start with the lever closed here. And we're just going to hit right up underneath where we set that initial one open guideline in. So right underneath where you can see that weight line, the lever closed isn't going to completely erase that middle guideline that you see, but that's when we're going to come back with the half guard. So with the half guard here, you can either start with the lever halfway closed or all the way closed. A lot of times I just go ahead, start with the lever all the way closed. And again, here's a little close-up. You can see me just using the corners of the blade and really pinpointing those dark areas. Using your corners isn't quite as necessary in this section, but it does really help out with blending, so I like to do it as much as I can. Just don't let it slow you down too much. Don't focus too much on detailing up front. You can always go back later and clean up the blend at the end of the haircut. So again, now you can see me really starting to target those areas right around the C-cup where I initially left it darker. So I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to check out that Barber versus TV Instagram battle between 360 Jeezy and Chris Bosio. That was definitely cool to watch. Cool to see them come together. There was no hard feelings about it. I think Chris Bosio ended up taking it. So definitely a huge shout out to those guys for really uplifting the barber community and doing cool events like that. Those are the guys that got me into doing the whole YouTube thing. So I'm just finishing up a little bit of detailing in this half guard section. A little dark spot there you see me working at, and then I'm going to go back later and hit it a little bit more. But now we can slap on that 1.5 guard. And what this is going to do is really tie into a lot of that bulk up top. I've got the lever closed and I'm not looking to set in any guideline. I'm really just trying to flick out into that bulk. If you'll remember, we started taking that 2 guard right off the parietal ridge going straight towards the ceiling. So this just helps tie it together and work into that 2 guard. So again, I hope you guys are still sticking with me. I don't know if I need to flash some eye candy or whatever. I know in-depth tutorials aren't necessarily the sexiest thing in the world, so I try to do what I can to keep you guys engaged. So we're just going here now with some clipper over comb, and we're gonna tie that together even more. I know I've mentioned this before, but to those of you who are new, the width of the comb is usually about a 1.5 guard, so that's just a good reference point for you. And now we're just gonna go back with that 2 guard open, just flicking out a little bit more into that weight up top. He didn't want to mess with the top at all. He's growing it out, so we tried to leave as much of that as possible. So since I slowed it down to regular speed for the first side, now I'm going to go ahead and speed it up so I don't bore you guys to death. I'm going to let you guys ride along with the music. You can follow the steps here. If y'all have any questions while you're watching, just let me know in the comments down below, and I will of course get back to you as soon as I can. working our way around to the back here. This is a very important area of the head because this is where you really tie the blend together all around. If you don't have the back matching up with the sides, it's really going to throw off the entire fade. So y'all just pay close attention to detail, especially when you're blending the back panel into those side panels. Now we're going to go in with a little bit of shear over comb. Again, the width of the comb usually works out to about a 1 or 1.5 guard. So you can kind of base it off of that. But you really just want to hit some of those darker areas and take that comb straight up. Like I've said in previous videos, you want that comb to be an immovable object, and try as best as you can to keep your shears flush to your comb. You really want them moving as kind of one unit. Really going to help you fine-tune a lot of those dark areas, knock down some of the bulkier areas, and you can also go into some of these areas just a little bit deeper as long as you're using thinning shears. So now we're going to go ahead and edge up the sides. He doesn't really like a front lineup or anything, but we're just going to hit the C-cup area on the sides, and you guys can see really where I left it a little bit darker along that curve. It really helps to create a nice natural outline without needing enhancements. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. I thought this was a really good angle here of showing you guys kind of how I use the corners. You can see I'm using the right corner of the blade there, and I'm just using that corner to slowly shape that curve. So as always, here is the before look. Here's how he came in the shop. Again, he was just really wanting the sides faded in, leaving the top. And then here is the after look. So this is a mid-drop skin fade. I hope you guys have got something out of this video. If y'all have stuck with me up to this point, I really appreciate it. Again, it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Again, I know haircut tutorials aren't the sexiest thing in the world, but I continue to try to bring the best content I can to you guys, the best quality. So as always, if y'all enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button down below for me. Comment down below, let me know what you thought of the cut. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys in the next one.